Christmas is fast approaching. It's a little over a week away. And one of the things that you see in a lot of parishes and also in a lot of other places as well are giving trees or some kind of an opportunity for people to give a Christmas gift to a child. And when I see the giving trees, I'm often reminded of something that I noticed a number of years back. It was, they had the giving tree, and all the gifts were underneath the tree. Most of them were not wrapped. And there was one gift in particular I noticed. It was a baseball bat with a baseball and a glove. And I was reminded of when I saw that, of someone who I had heard about a number of years ago. And this particular man absolutely loved baseball. He grew up playing baseball. It was in his blood. Pretty much he would play it all year long if he could. When his father would come home from work, he'd always wanted his father to go outside with him to play catch. And his father was usually very tired from his day at work, but he knew he wasn't going to get a moment's rest until at least he went out and played catch with his son for a few moments. Well, sadly, this man's father died at a young age. But there was a neighbor who knew how much he loved baseball. And so he would oftentimes play catch with him and also gave him other pointers of the game because he himself was a baseball coach. And that only made the love of baseball grow even deeper. When he was in high school, his mother insisted that he get good grades because both his mother and his late father had a dream that he would graduate from high school, the first in his family to do so. Of course, he wanted to play baseball more than anything else. And so his mother kind of held it over his head that unless he got certain grades from September until March or April when the baseball season would begin, he was not going to be doing anything but studying, and if the grades were good enough, he could play. Well, that motivated him all the more to play baseball. And baseball also tied into his faith life because he was from a parish that had a very large CYO program, including a program that had baseball as an offering. And he was somebody who played, and he was actually a star player. So it also was a connection to the church. He enlisted in World War II, and after the war came home, like a lot of the soldiers did, started a family, and had children. And something that he was able to do was share his love for baseball with his children. He had sons that loved the game just as much as he did, and also a daughter who played baseball as well. And he always said that if she had been born a boy, she would have been, or the major leagues allowed young women to play, she would have been a Hall of Famer before long, because she was better than her brothers at the game. He also spent time coaching Little League teams when he could. And anytime he would go to a baseball game, he always had one of those notebooks that have the little boxes so that he could score the game. And it didn't matter whether or not he was at a Red Sox game or an American Legion game or a local Little League game, or even kind of a pickup game that was being played near his house, where the children in the neighborhood just kind of got together. He scored those games accurately and kept a record of probably every baseball game he attended. He absolutely loved baseball. And when it came time at Christmas, even though it wasn't the baseball season, and even though, at Christmas time you probably think more of giving a basketball or a hockey stick or some kind of an indoor sport, he would always get a baseball bat, a baseball, a glove, and a baseball jersey and a baseball cap that always had to be the Red Sox. I don't know whether or not he lived to see the Red Sox win the World Series a few years back, but he was always determined that the Red Sox were going to one day win, which of course they did. But he always hoped that when he put that baseball bat and the ball and the glove and the jersey underneath the giving tree, that maybe some child who would receive that gift and love baseball as much as he did, and have that game of baseball be something that might turn their life around or give their life a bit of purpose. And I was thinking about that story as I was reflecting on the gospel today, because we have an interesting situation. John the Baptist, as we heard in yesterday's gospel, has been arrested. And followers of John are sent to Jesus to ask him if he's the one, or should they be following somebody else. And Jesus mentions all the wonderful things that are happening because of his ministry, and also happening too because of the role that John played. And then he speaks to those who are his followers, who are listening to him, many of whom were people who followed John the Baptist first. And we hear about tax collectors following John. But it's also believed too, and particularly the Apostle Andrew was a follower of John the Baptist. So too was Nathaniel, who's also known as Bartholomew. And there were others as well. And it's safe that if Peter had heard about John from his brother Andrew, he may have been a follower. And it's thought that James and John may have been followers as well. And there could have been all sorts of other people who heard John the Baptist that we hear about in the gospel. And John was somebody who prepared them for the coming of Jesus Christ. And when Jesus Christ called them, because of John's work, they wholeheartedly followed. And they saw in Jesus not only what John was doing, but things that were even greater. And so John, in many ways, was a mentor to them, who gave them a gift that led to something much larger. And I think that, when it comes to faith, there are people in our own lives who have been mentors to us. People who have taught us prayers. People who may have shared a love of Scripture. People who may have done all sorts of things. And so it reminds us of, first of all, looking back at these people and thanking God for them. But also, too, remembering, too, that we're called to spread that faith to others. We're called to be mentors in the journey of faith for those in our own lives. It may be something as simple as sharing the Christmas story with a grandchild, or maybe sharing a bit of our faith with someone we encounter. But the Lord often uses small things to do great works. And as we reflect on John beginning the ministry of Jesus Christ, and Jesus taking it in ways that people could not imagine, we're called to remember too that such things happen in our own lives, and that the Lord can use the good that we do in ways we can never imagine.